Jumbo everybody, in today's video I'm going to share with you my top tips for summertime touring at Walt Disney World. We have been to Disney, I think it was the last week of June, and then a bajillion times in September, which I still kind of link September into summer because it's so hot. So anyway, these are my top tips for you for staying cool, navigating the crowds, and I'm going to answer your questions at the end of this that you guys submitted on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, first, let's talk about my first number one tip for you guys. It's if you can at all swing it, stay on site. Trust me when I say staying on site makes for a better vacation when you're traveling to Disney. Doesn't matter if you're staying in a value up to a Disney Vacation Club property, although that's what we prefer. It doesn't matter. As long as you are staying on site, you're basically just guaranteed of having a better Disney experience. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First reason is that as an on-site guest, you get to take advantage of what's called extra magic hours. And that's where a park either opens an hour early before it opens to the general public, or it stays open up to 2 to 3 hours later after it closes to the general public. So get your coffee in at 6 a.m., get over to the Magic Kingdom and do that extra magic hour in the morning. And you can get a whole lot of stuff done, especially before the crowds come and before the heat of the day gets there. It just makes for a better trip. We like to do the evening extra magic hours. When we were there in June, we stayed at the Magic Kingdom until 1 a.m. And we're riding Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at 12:45 in the morning, and it was great. It worked out good because it's dark, it's cooler, there's a whole lot less people there, and it's just, I don't know, it's a different atmosphere, I feel, than being there at 1 in the afternoon. So that's my first thing. Second thing with staying on site is that you can take advantage of Disney doing the driving between your hotel and the park. Now, there are some off-site places that have shuttles that will get you where you need to go, but they generally run twice during the day, and it's not as flexible as Disney's well-oiled machine of transportation going back and forth between all the different things. The buses are super duper air conditioned, and it is so nice just to get on a bus and sit down and sit there in air conditioning and just let them drive you to your hotel. It makes for a nice experience. Same thing with the boats and the monorails and all of that. Having Disney do the driving for you, especially when you're hot and sweaty and just tired, it's a great time. I have a video about renting Disney Vacation Club points. I will leave it up in the cards, whatever side it is, here, so you guys can see that video. That's the route that we go, and that also makes for a much better Disney experience, so check out that video. All right, so let's talk about crowds. Now, in the summer, basically anytime school is, well, there's really no low time of year anymore. But the general rule of thumb is anytime school is out of session, the parks tend to be a little more crowded. So summer, it's that time. That time of year has come. The most crowded week in the summer is 4th of July week. And then it starts to kind of get a little more normal and trail off towards the mid part of August leading into September when school gets back in session. So with the elevated crowds, you definitely want to take advantage of Fast Pass Plus. Now, if you're staying on site, you can make your Fast Pass Plus reservations up to 60 days in advance. If you're staying off site, you can make them up to 30 days in advance. So another perk of staying on site is to be able to make those reservations for the rides that you want to ride 60 days in advance, super duper early. So when you're thinking about what rides and when you want to do these Fast Pass Plus reservations, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. So the first thing is how long you're going to want to stay in the park. Are you going to want to take a mid-afternoon break? Most likely you are. I'm just going to guess. But if you're one of those families, you're like, I am not leaving this park until sunup to sundown. I'm staying here the whole time. That's a different touring strategy than if you're planning on going until lunchtime, leaving until dinner, then coming back, and then, doing your evening touring. So you need to figure that out for your family and what you want to do. For us, we have gone kind of both ways. Lately, we've been just arriving at the parks at 4 in the afternoon and then doing touring until 1 a.m. or whatever. But going early in the morning, there's definitely advantages of that. And I think the next time that we go to Disney, we're going to be planning on doing some morning touring. I'm saying it now. I'm putting it out there in the universe. We're going to be staying in a Grand Floridian villa. We're going to hop on a monorail. We're going to go to the Magic Kingdom and be there at park opening. I'm just putting it out there in the universe. You guys heard it here first. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So that's something you want to think about, is how long you're going to want to be in the parks. Do you have young kids? Are they going to need a mid-afternoon nap? Probably. Are you just two adults like us that tour the parks? Can you be a little more flexible with your timing? Probably. Let's just say you're somebody that wants to be at the parks from sunup to sundown. You are going hard the whole time. This is like your one Disney trip, and you are not leaving that park until you see all the things and meet all the princesses and all of that. So here's, in that situation, what I would suggest, all right? I would recommend to get to the park 1 hour before it opens. So if you have extra magic hours that start at 8 a.m., I would get to the Magic Kingdom at 7 a.m. That's what I would do. Going hard here, man. So the park opens for extra magic hours, 8 a.m. I would head straight to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Peter Pan's Flight, depending on how old your children are. If they are of age and of height where they can ride roller coasters and all that, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a great one to do first. Get it out of the way because that line gets super duper long later on in the day. If they are super duper young kids, I would go to Peter Pan's Flight because that is the other one that tends to get, I don't know why, but really, really long lines. It's a continuously moving thing. I have no idea why the line is always so crazy long for Peter Pan, but it just is. So I would do as many attractions as possible up until about 11 in the morning, because you can normally get the vast majority of what you want to get done up until that point. Once 11 hits, that's when the crowds are starting to kind of go up to their peak a little bit. They tend to really peak around like 1 and 2, and then they kind of start to come down as it gets closer to dinner time. But that's kind of when it's going to be super busy. So at that peak time, this is where your Fast Pass Plus reservations are going to come in handy. So what I would do is, starting around 11-ish, I would start to have those Fast Pass Plus reservations for attractions that you really want to see. So if you're somebody who really likes Space Mountain, I'm not, gives me a headache, but some people really like it. I don't know. I don't understand you people, but that's okay. I don't like getting jostled around. Anyway, that would be a good one to have Fast Pass for because those lines tend to get pretty long. The Jungle Cruise, if you have younger kids, that would be a great Fast Pass Plus reservation to have. That queue gets a little warm, so that's a good one where you can just zip right onto a boat. It's a lot better than doing the switchbacks in no air conditioning. The other one that is really good to have a Fast Pass Plus for is Big Thunder Mountain because that queue gets really, really warm as well. So those would kind of be my top 3, depending on how old your kids are, if you have kids. If you're not going with kids, you could be a little more flexible probably. I don't feel the need to have a Fast Pass for a Splash Mountain because that queue tends to be a little cooler. They have lots of air conditioning vents pointed right at you throughout the queue, so that's better. Also, Pirates of the Caribbean tends to be a little cooler as well. Another one you might want to consider having a Fast Pass for is Haunted Mansion because that queue it's covered, but it's outside, so it's a little warmer. So having a Fast Pass for that one is generally a really nice thing. So zipping over to Epcot, if you're doing a day at Epcot, personally, and again, this all depends on how old your kids are, if you have kids or whatever, I prefer to have a Fast Pass for Soarin' around the world. That queue tends to get a little bit long. I like having a Fast Pass for Living with the Land selfishly because I just really like that ride. But if you have kids, I would definitely get the Fast Pass for Frozen Ever After, which is in the Norway Pavilion at the backside of Epcot. I can take or leave Frozen Ever After. I'm really okay if we don't ride it. So we tend to not worry about a Fast Pass for that. I also like having a Fast Pass for Spaceship Earth. Those queues can get pretty long depending on the time of day. Spaceship Earth is funny because that one tends to get really long in the morning. It's like the first attraction you see when everybody's coming in that front entrance, and everybody just goes straight to it. And so it can get a little bit long in the morning and then kind of die down a little bit in the afternoon and towards the evening time. So kind of think about that way. The reason that we don't get a fast pass for Test Track is Test Track has a single rider option. And so my husband and I are okay being separated and like sitting in one in front of the other in a car, or being in different cars and just making friends with the people we're sitting next to. Like, it's fine. We don't have to ride together, so we opt for the single rider line. We're in and out in like 20 minutes. It's super duper fast, and there's never a line for single riders. So that's what we opt to do. Zipping over to Animal Kingdom, same thing goes for Expedition Everest. They have a single rider option, so my husband and I are okay not having a fast pass for Expedition Everest because we know we can do single rider and we'll just get in and off and it'll be fine and it's all fine. Flight of Passage would be my #1 priority in Animal Kingdom. You can only pick between Navi River and Flight of Passage. Flight of Passage is like this big new ride at Animal Kingdom. Everybody loves it. We missed out on having a fast pass for it this past time that we went because Hurricane Irma came through. We had to reschedule our trip and we couldn't get a fast pass for when we rescheduled it for. So anyway, we did Navi River Journey instead. It was fine. I probably rather would have gone on Flight of Passage. So I recommend Flight of Passage for a Fast Pass Plus reservation. Get that one at Animal Kingdom. And then, you know, the other ones, personally, I think Kilimanjaro Safaris, that line can get really hot. So that would be another one. That would be a really good one to have a Fast Pass Plus reservation for at Animal Kingdom. Over at Hollywood Studios, there's really not a whole lot open right now, although Toy Story Land is opening in the end of June. So if you're going to be going when Toy Story Land is open, grab a Fast Pass for the Slinky Dog coaster or for whatever. Anything over in Toy Story Land that you can get, pretty much get a Fast Pass for it. Other than that, I would get one for Tower of Terror just because I selfishly really like that ride, personally. Let's talk staying cool in the parks. So if you're anything like me, I tend to get a little bit anxious and I just don't feel great if I get very, very hot. In my former life, I was a band director. I worked band camps every single summer and we were outside from sunup to sundown and I would get heat rash all the time. Like, that was just my life. Every summer I would have rash all over my arms. I would be incredibly hot and it would just be a miserable, miserable experience for me. I don't do that anymore. Anyway, so staying cool at Disney. I feel like if you're coming from, a lot of people that come down to Disney are either from like New England or from the Midwest, generally speaking. If you're west of the Mississippi, you tend to go to Disneyland. It's just like a thing. I don't know why, but anyway. If you're from Michigan, you're used to having sun feel a certain way when you're out at noon, you know. But when you're down in Florida, you're so much closer to the equator that it feels like the sun is just 10 times hotter. I don't know. Maybe it's mental. It probably is. When we were down there in June, I was never in my life hotter than when I was at Disney in June. It was just a thing. I was sweating buckets, which is a good thing. You want to sweat when you're hot. That's like a natural process. But you also need to replenish your fluids and your electrolytes when you're out in the sun all day long. Like, it's just the thing. So when we were down in June, I went through 4 bottles, normal sized bottles of water throughout the day, not including the water that I also had at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then after we were back at the hotel, all right? That's a lot of water, but I needed it. My body needed it. So I just kept drinking. So I like to bring in at least a couple bottles to get me started that we pick up from Whole Foods or from Publix or wherever. I like to have it in my backpack. And then when you're in the parks, you can go up to snack counter locations or quick service restaurant locations and get free cups of water, ice water. It's great. If they have soda fountain drinks, they will have ice water available for you for free. So that's a good little thing to know. They have also at the Starbucks locations, they have a Starbucks in each of the parks. They have these, what do you call those? Carafes, these big jugs of water with the little like cone cups that you can get water from inside the Starbucks as well. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind, knowing that those are there. They're in the corner by the utensils, like the plastic utensils. So you can always get those, but you can also buy Dasani bottles of water in the park. I will only drink Dasani water at a very last resort, just because of research I've seen about the quality of the Dasani water. I'd rather drink the tap water in Florida than the Dasani water, personally. That's just me. The two types of water that we like to get, I will put a picture of here. One is Essentia, the other one, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put that here. Those are the ones that we tend to bring into the parks with us, because our bodies do a little bit better with those, because we're used to drinking Berkey filtered water with no fluoride and stuff in it at home. So like having water that's similar to that, or like spring water, we tend to do okay with too. So that's kind of what we opt for. Anyway, so love having water with me, but I also like having snacks with me as well, things that my body is used to. So banana is great for helping you replenish electrolytes when you have it with little sips of water. Even plantain chips. I really like the Inca plantain chips that have the sea salt in them. Also good. Salt helps to replenish electrolytes. RX bars or Laura bars are good from a natural sugar standpoint, again, to help replenish. And I also like having fresh fruits and vegetables with me in my bag. So things that are highly watered, like watermelon, cucumber, celery, cherry tomatoes, things like that. I like to just have those in my bag so I can snack on them whenever I need them. Especially if you have a special diet, it's just really nice to know that you have snacks and stuff in your bag that you can have without having to like walk around the park and look for a banana from somewhere. Another thing too, to keep cool, I like to take a washcloth from my hotel room, put it in a double bagged Ziploc bag, and fill that up with ice. And I have that in my backpack, and then when I'm sitting down in a shaded area or in Carousel Progress or somewhere, I can take the washcloth and wipe my pulse points, so the inside of my wrist, inside of my elbows, behind my knees, behind my neck, just helps you cool off a little bit. But know when you do that, you're going to probably be washing off the sunscreen that you put on, I hope. So you'll want to reapply your sunscreen fairly often too, just because the sun is just so brutal down there. Having sunglasses and a hat is very helpful as well. My husband has like one of those Gilligan Island hats, the like wide brim hat that goes all the way around his head. I have a straw hat like that, but it's so floppy that I can't really see anybody around me, so I tend to wear like a baseball cap with my sunglasses. But I like having those just because it helps prevent headaches for me from the glare and stuff of the sun. Just a personal thing. I like to have that sun off of my face. There are lots of places that you can duck into to get out of the sun. There's always shops that you can go in. There's generally shaded areas that you can at least just stand in. If you can't sit there, you can at least stand there. And longer attractions. So like I said, Carousel of Progress is great. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, amazing. Super great show in Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom, but just like, you know, 20 minutes out of the sun. That's fantastic. Also, Hall of Presidents. You can go to the American Adventure at Epcot. You can do any of those shows at Animal Kingdom too, like It's Tough to Be a Bug or Finding Nemo the Musical, the Festival of the Lion King. So a lot of these attractions are pretty lengthy, and it's just good to get out of the sun for a little bit of time. Sit, relax, take a nap if you feel like you need to, and then go back to your park touring. And also, please do not be afraid of carrying around an umbrella in your backpack. One, it rains generally sometime between 2 and 5 p.m. normally in Florida, pop-up showers. It just kind of happens. But also, it can keep the sun off of you as you're going from one attraction to another attraction. You're going to see a fair amount of people who have light-colored umbrellas to help keep the sun off. Don't be afraid to also be one of those people. I am one of those people. So if you do what you gotta do, it's totally fine. Those are my top tips. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get into your questions here. So this question comes from Loving Whimsy, and she says, not really a travel question, but which is your most cherished or favorite souvenir from Disney World? And my favorite souvenir that I have is actually I picked a pearl at Epcot, and I got a little carriage carrier for the pearl that I picked at Epcot. So that would be my most cherished Disney souvenir. However, I do have a fair amount of these, which are pressed pennies. So I tend to get the pressed pennies from the pressed penny machines at the various attractions that I really like too. So I do collect these also, but that's just a secondary thing. Okay, next question. Love in Wonderland says, what are the best options for booking and paying for your trip? It depends on how involved you want to be in it. If you want to give somebody else full reign of just have them do it, you can use Disney travel agencies. You don't pay them, Disney pays them. So you are paying what you would normally pay to Disney, but they're doing the work for you. So a really good travel agency is dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. They are the people that are behind the Diz boards and the Diz Unplugged. And that would be probably who I personally would go through if I wanted to have somebody else do that for me. I am pretty sure they do have some sort of a payment type of plan through Dreams Unlimited Travel. I'm gonna guess they probably do, because the vast majority of people couldn't just pay outright for a Disney vacation, right? A lot of people like to do payments, or they like to a year or so leading up to their Disney trip gradually buy Disney gift cards, and then you can pay for your trip using the Disney gift cards. So I know a lot of people have bought the Disney gift cards using the red card from Target, and then you get some money back for doing that. I've never done that particular thing. Our local grocery store here, we get money on our gas, like off of our gas for a car, if we buy the gift cards from our grocery. So that's something that I have done. Same thing goes for Southwest gift cards too. We've done that, bought Southwest gift cards from the grocery, and then we were able to save money off of our gasoline, which was a savings that we wouldn't have gotten if we had just paid Disney directly. So there are a couple of ideas. There's one website that I really like that's called mousesavers.com. I'll link them below. If you get go on Mouse Savers and subscribe to their newsletter, you can generally get some Disney savings from either like a rental car or your flight, or off of certain packages and things like that, using discount codes and all of that. Just sign up for their newsletter and you'll get some information about saving money at Disney World going that route. And I think if you book directly through Disney, you also have a payment plan option. You may have more options if you have a Disney Visa too, possibly. I don't know. I don't have a Disney Visa, so I'm not exactly sure like how that all goes. But I'm pretty sure payment plans are an option for you. This next one is from Kim Kiyawasu. Kim Kiyawasu. I'm so butchering your name. I'm so sorry. Best things to do for your first time there. Any suggestions for how to manage the time in the parks? So my best suggestion is to take advantage of FastPass Plus. There is a great website called touringplans.com, and I recommend getting a subscription to Touring Plans. It lasts for a year, and you can get touring plans from touringplans.com that can tell you what rides to do in what order, and can help you best manage your times in the parks. That's run by Len Testa and a couple of other guys that do touring plans. And I have been a fact checker for the unofficial guide that Len and there's another author that did that too, and I can't remember at this point now. But I used to be a fact checker for their books a couple years back, which is funny. So if you go back to like the 2011, 2012, maybe 2010, 2011, 2012 editions, you'll see my name in there, which is super funny. So I think Len Testa is like this mathematical genius, and he has this whole touring plans like thing. So go check them out. They not sponsored, but they will be able to give you some tips as to how to best manage your time in the parks during a super busy time of year. For your first time, just know that you're not going to be able to get everything done, and don't try to get everything done. It is super overwhelming to try to do everything at Disney. I mean, it is a huge place. Really take in the atmosphere, and I think you'll appreciate the parks a whole lot more when you do look for those different details that the Imagineers have put in there, because it really does take you to a whole different place. Okay, the last question comes from Alicia, and Alicia is saying, my biggest question is, how do I find out the prices and booking and get on one of those pay by the month plans? I would work with a Dreams Unlimited travel agent. I really would, because they are going to get you the best deal that is available from different discount codes and booking codes and all these different things. They're going to be able to help you the best. And like I said, you don't pay them, Disney pays them. So you're going to be paying basically Disney World prices, and they just get a commission from Disney. So you are just, using their services basically for free, which is a good thing. That would be my biggest suggestion. They will totally be able to help you from a booking standpoint. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you have any other summer travel questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. If you haven't already and you'd like to hit that button down below, subscribe so you never miss a daily video. Happy Disney planning, and I will see you all tomorrow. Ciao!